Hey, how's it going? It's Keith Townsend from the CTO Advisor, and we're still at Supermicro asking the tough questions of the executives, trying to understand this market. First off, we'd like to thank Supermicro for sponsoring the CTO Dose as part of Build Day Live, which you can watch the more technical videos, watch the team actually build a vSAN cluster on a big twin over on builddaylive.com. And we have Don Clegg, VP of Worldwide Sales. You know, when I want to see when I see the WW, I want to add the other W and say VP of Worldwide Web Sales. But,
yeah. I'm happy with that too. I mean, we're a major player in the cloud market. It scales out, so that's a big part of our sales.
So speaking of sales, first off, you know, you're the head sales guy. So give me the elevator pitch. Why Supermicro? Like if I'm an enterprise customer and I have all the options when it comes to hardware partners, why Supermicro?
Okay. If we're on a 2-story building, it's best products. That's simple. But let's say the elevator gives us a little longer to talk about. It still is best products. It's in our DNA. Supermicro is the only major server provider today that still designs all of its own products. Its infrastructure, our DNA is to own the IP from things that you might think are, you know, they don't have a lot of visibility, but they're important. From a server board, to the chassis, to backplanes, to power supplies, to add-on cards, to carriers for drives. But the fact that, I'm getting close to the bottom of the floor, but the fact that we control all of that ourselves, it gives us advantages that are unique that no one else has. So working with Supermicro, best products, and we can help make you money with reliable and leading edge technology.
So I've been told we're in Supermicro 3.0, the midst of transformation. You mentioned, you know, the motherboard story. And I've been told the motherboard story, how Supermicro has transformed itself from a motherboard company into a solutions company. How has the conversation with customers evolved over that time period?
Great question, because I maintain you can't get to the 3.0 level that we're at today without having gone through the 1.0 level. So the conversation has evolved from, I need this subsystem, I need this component to be best, to now, I've got this problem. How do I solve the problem? What's the best solution for that? And then in our dialogue with customers about what's the best solution, if it has to do with big data, we start talking about, okay, where are you going to deploy your systems? How dense do they have to be? What sort of environment will you have to have for as far as power and cooling? What kinds of special requirements do you have? And never once did I mention motherboard in that. But the motherboard is a key element, as is the server chassis and the architecture that we set up. So the conversation's evolved knowing that we have the building blocks DNA to solve the solution. So we begin with a problem statement. How do we solve your problem? You know, you say, I have a budget and I have to hit this certain level of customer satisfaction, SLA, or I have to have this certain performance level. Then we say, great, based on that, here's some options and technologies. And so we work into the solution a one-size-doesn't-fit-all. And we're able to do that. We're able to make solutions that look as though they're tailored for our customer without the extra burden of having to do a custom design. Because then we go back to the building blocks that we have, and we say, oh, we already have that particular style of, if you have a hyper-converged infrastructure, and you need a solution that's got very, very dense packaging, and you say, well, gosh, the users need so much memory, and I say, great, we'll sell you a big twin that has no limitations in memory. It's stories like that, finding the problem first, or listening to the problem first, and then discussing ways to fix it. And it really is a different sales approach than 25 years ago when the company was founded. But again, I maintain it's very difficult to have that solutions discussion if you don't know the underlying hardware.
So I think there's part of the story that users would be looking at Supermicro and Conflicted. You know, before you might look at Supermicro as a value play, people would take bits and pieces, building blocks, build a solution because they could strip out a lot of the unnecessary components of a solution. You know, I have the raw solution that I need. But repeatedly, what I've heard today was a desire to be best in class, and specifically engineering. So when I think of best in class in engineering, I think expensive. Help me close the gap between my perception that Supermicro value play, Supermicro best in class engineering. Like I'm not getting something for free. You're the sales guy. At the end of the day, you want a PO from me. You're trying to get as much as my money as possible. And where's the value?
And I want to drive my costs down so that we both benefit.
Right.
So what ends up, I think the real value, it's back to what you said, the engineering. While it may look expensive at a one-time expense to design the right product, I can tell you that it's much more expensive to spec in the wrong product that might have a capital acquisition cost that might be slightly less. You know, what do I mean by that? So very easy to go and buy a generic off the shelf. Someone says, hey, all hardware is the same. Let me just go buy something.
Right.
Okay. What if you don't hit your performance targets? What if you get your utility bills that are essentially saying you're paying 7, 10, 15, 20% too much over time? At the end of a 3 or 4 year life cycle of a product, you could have accidentally spent more in operational costs than in the original capital cost, not to mention just the delta. So the delta of the capital acquisition cost, I maintain, is we're not at a disadvantage at all. We do everything we can to drive that down. But even if we are not cheaper, we save it in the OpEx side. The other thing is we pay really close attention in the design so that we're optimizing the design. And why would you pay for features that you don't need? And you'll be able to save that by having our optimized product. So that's last check. Don't quote me, I don't know the exact number, but it's in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of server boards and hundreds of chassis. And so the real key to solving the solution for someone to work with Supermicro is to work closely with the salespeople. We'll bring in technical product managers and experts and field engineers and to design the right product. Now, back to, are we more expensive? The answer is we're not, because what we do, it's a really unique approach. While we design in the US, that's actually less expensive in the long run because we're able to help you get to market quicker with technology months and months, in some cases, many, many months ahead of competitors. But then we also go to our best-in-cost manufacturing facilities in Asia to get the subcomponents built. So we'll do a final integration in one of 3 geographies that'll optimize wherever you want to build, but we don't burden the cost of the subcomponents by having US costs. So it's US design, US integration, using the same low cost components in the server commodity hardware, but just put into our designs that are optimized. So again, there isn't many people think with Supermicro they get it wrong. They either think, wow, you're the cheapest guys out there, or why are you so expensive? The answer is neither. We sell value, and it's a very, very good cost. Typically we're lower cost than our competitors, but we don't sell on that because that's not the real strength of Supermicro. It's back to the best product.
So let's talk a little bit about the effort going in behind the engineering to reduce OpEx costs. Because I hear this OpEx cost savings, but not normally from a hardware perspective. This is normally, at the software layer, we'll have less people, faster time to value from a rack and stack perspective. Where's the value savings in Supermicro's engineering approach?
So the value savings is the sum of lots of little things that we do. Something as trivial as the voltage regulator design on a motherboard might be 4% more efficient than anybody else. And the fact that we're using a shared cooling fan between two nodes might add a few percent to it. The fact that the way our products are designed, so take where we do free air cool designs on that, little things that add up in the engineering design part of it make it so that it naturally will save you money from an OpEx point of view. And I will tell you, OpEx is now becoming much more important than it was when I started in the industry. It used to be they were completely different departments. The OpEx guy, he had no influence in the original acquisition. That has changed quite dramatically today. So it's a big piece of the equation.
So let's talk about practicals. If I'm a CTO, CIO, VP of infrastructure, and I wanted to engage Supermicro, what's the model? Do I go through the channel? Do I give Supermicro a call? Like, simple question, how do I buy the product?
Yeah, great question. So we have a blended model. We've got amazing distributors, and we also have fantastic OEMs that take our product and put their badge on it. I think the main thing to do is to reach out to Supermicro. We will be able to then connect you with the right, whether it's, we have the discussion with you. Who are you buying from today? How is that working? Why fix something that isn't broken? So if you've got a really strong partnership through a distribution channel, we'll show you that we're connected with just about every major distributor worldwide that sells x86 technology. So we'll align you that way. If you have special requirements and certain minimum volumes, then we'll have some discussions about, hey, maybe there's a different channel. Maybe we've got an OEM that can sell to you, or maybe we can talk direct. But I think the real important point is to understand what your requirements are up front, because no matter which channel you go through, the really cool thing is we still want to talk to you. We still want to help you from a technical point of view. Your salesperson can help you whether you're buying directly or indirectly. It's a matter of optimizing it for you. I mean, it sounds too good to be true, and I tell you it's not. It's really important that we listen to what's working with you and we align it that way.
So if I got one big twin, or if I got a cluster of 30 big twins, I can go to the Supermicro site, log in, or get the number to dial sales, and you'll point me in the right direction regardless.
Absolutely. So there's a where to buy section, geographically located, and also broken down by types of whether it's a reseller or a distributor. And then when you start talking about large projects, we definitely want to be a consultant for you. And then the buying channel is separated from the consulting channel. For me as a salesperson, the most important thing is the consulting channel. Again, counterintuitive, got to make sure that product is right for you. And then it just becomes a matter of, after that product is right for you, figuring out the right way to procure it.
So speaking of right for me, a lot of solutions, point solutions, or highly engineered solutions focus on the verticals. Have you guys experienced success in a specific vertical, or where are you seeing the most interest for this model?
A model in particular?
No, this model of engineering, this quick, this short engineering cycle and fast innovation capability.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, historically there weren't really any standards in the server rack mount space back in the late 90s, coming into 2000, and so it was difficult to find scale-out models. The first, the first iteration of the verticals came out was in the high-performance computing markets, typically driven by universities, research centers, government, and in those models, it was about what's the best, what are your spec int numbers, what's your performance numbers, and so that was a very quick adoption to us. Now we've evolved and we've created models that are targeted again for high performance computing, but they could also be for cloud scale out, some overlap, some similarities, for big data where we have just unbelievable density and low latency in terms of our storage. So we will create product families. That was sort of the Supermicro 2.0 phase, was to create product families for verticals, for storage, for high compute, for different density scenarios, and even for we had an affectionate name internally called Me Too products. So we had the full line of whatever anybody would be looking for. And then with that setup in the Supermicro 2.0, it was a natural to say, you know, I've got the biggest, baddest bag of Legos in the world. Nobody's got more than me. What can we build together? And that's essentially how it. So there's definitely full product families built around the verticals.
Well, Don, we can sit here and talk about the market, the deep industries that you guys have penetrated. I'm sure that you can share a ton of stories. But if people wanted to reach out, find out more about Supermicro, what's the best way? Website?
The website, you saw me inhale a bit. I'd love it. I'd love people to look at the website. It's a little daunting. I will tell you, it's very, consider our roots. It's centered around the technical and engineers of the world.
Right. If I wanted the Xeon, blah, 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 or with this chipset, perfect website to go to.
You've got it. Sometimes I smile and say our best strength is sometimes our biggest liability of having so much product flexibility. But yes, the website, check where to buy, and then reach out to Supermicro because, as I said, the consulting part of it to help steer you to the right channel is extremely important.
Well, Don, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me about Supermicro and your role. We appreciate you guys sponsoring the CTO Dose and look forward to the next Build Day Live.
Yeah, that's exciting. Keith, appreciate it.
That's it for coverage from Silicon Valley in San Jose in the beautiful Supermicro campus. I really appreciate Supermicro and the Build Day Live team for having us do these interviews with executives. I hope you found them informative. If you want to find out more about the CTO Advisor, you can do that at thectoadvisor.com. You can follow me on the web at CTO Advisor on Twitter. Talk to you next, CTO Dose.